Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Thanks for tuning in again. Today we're going to be talking about what to do when you lose your passport overseas. We have been in this situation very recently, so we can talk about it from a first-hand perspective.
Yes, we can. Actually, yeah, this happened to me on our recent trip to South Korea. We unfortunately had a bit of a domino effect happen with losing my passport. So we were supposed to go to Japan straight after we were staying in Seoul, and unfortunately the night that I did have my passport stolen, going missing, whatever sort of happened there, we still don't really know. Unfortunately, we were meant to fly to Japan the next day, and from then on, obviously I couldn't fly, I didn't have my passport, so we had to cancel a lot of things. So yeah, it was a really hard time, you know. A lot of people might have lost their passports before and might have been in a situation where it wasn't as big of a deal, but for us it was kind of a real pain in the butt when it happened. First off, the way that it actually got lost, we'll just explain to you guys what happened on the night that it was lost. And keep in mind that South Korea is one of those countries really where you wouldn't expect people to go and steal anything really. Like, it's, from what we've heard, it's a very courteous country, and if it was found, people would be handing it straight into the police station. So it's not really something that you expect to happen on your trip. I never thought that it would happen to me. I work as a travel agent, so I am very diligent when it comes to this sort of thing, and I'm always very careful. And I mean, I had my passport in a travel document wallet, so everything was secured in this document wallet, all my important information that I needed. The only reason I had brought my passport out on that particular day was because we were doing some shopping, and I wanted to basically get the tax-free opportunities that came along with doing some shopping in Seoul. So now, looking back on that, I probably would never take it out for tax-free purposes again, and just pay a couple of dollars just in case, you know. But anyway, on to the story time. So we were staying in Seoul for 5 nights? 5 nights, was it? 4 nights, I think we were in Seoul maybe, in April. And on the last night in Seoul, we were spending our night at the Lantern Festival.
Seoul Lantern Festival.
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience.
It was probably like one of our favorite things of the entire trip.
Yeah, ironically. Yeah, it was probably like one of the best things we did, and it was like the best way to end our trip in Seoul.
Yeah, it's like celebrations, there was people, we were partying, we were dancing.
Having so much fun. Really, really a lot of fun. And anyway, I had a backpack on, and it was my travel document wallet that had my passport and my rail passes for Japan, and just everything was secured in there. Yeah, details.
Confirmation.
Yeah. Everything was in this one wallet, and it was quite large. It was probably like, maybe, I don't know if you're able to see this on camera, but it was a fair size, and it was secured in my backpack. So I mean, if I felt like, you know, you would have thought that I would have felt someone taking it out or even falling out of my backpack, but unfortunately we were just in such a big crowd that night that I had no idea. I had no idea until I turned around, or someone else mentioned that my bag was open, and I turned around and realized that it wasn't actually in there anymore. So the whole wallet was taken out, and we'd been in the crowd because we'd originally been taking photos in another section of the Lantern Festival, and then we made our way down to this really, really big crowd in front of the stage.
And we accidentally got involved in the crowd. Like,
yeah.
We didn't really know what was happening. It was like a stage, and there was playing some music. And then all of a sudden, they broke out in like dance and song, and the whole crowd got involved, and we were kind of in the middle of it. So we weren't really planning on that. It just happened. Yeah,
so I wasn't expecting to be moving around so much and getting into a really big crowd like that. I was sort of looking back every now and then for my, just making sure that everything was okay with my bag and that it was closed. And I couldn't pinpoint when it went missing, but I know roughly where it would have gone. You know, if I had lost it and someone hadn't have stolen it, I know probably where it would have dropped out. And But anyway, so we finished sort of doing dancing and that sort of thing, and one of the people that we were with on the night said that my bag was open, and I turned around and realized that my wallet had gone and it was missing. So immediately we all started looking through the crowd for it, and keep in mind this crowd was massive. There
would have been like probably 30,000, 40,000 people there at least.
Yeah, there was heaps. So it was very, very difficult to see where it might have dropped. However, we did sort of weave our way through the crowd and looked for maybe 10 minutes or so, couldn't find anything. So then luckily enough, I guess, in a way, there were police there that night because it was such a big event. So we went straight over to the police and just told them the situation and that my passport was in the wallet. We had to get a flight the next day. So I think, especially for when something like this happens, the first thing you do is go to the police. Go and get a police report done, because if you have travel insurance and you need to claim back for anything in this sort of matter, you will need a police report. So that is the most important thing I could say to you, is just go straight to the police and get something done, get something printed off.
It doesn't matter if it's not in English, it can be in the language of the country that you're in. So for us, we got a Korean police report, and that didn't really matter when we were later applying for the travel insurance claim. Yeah,
some insurance providers might be different, but the one that we went through was very good. So I went through Covermore Insurance, and yeah, I actually sell this at work, and I know that they're very, very good. So I just made sure that I got the police report straight off the bat. And so I went to the police station with one of the policemen, and my friends stayed back to have a look for my passport. Even once the crowds had dispersed, they still were looking around the area and they couldn't find it. So it was almost as if maybe it had been stolen, and that's kind of how we think things might have gone down, but we're not 100% sure still. So anyway, I went to the police station and explained to them what happened. They got everything in writing and then produced a report for me, and I asked for a photocopy. And make sure you do get a photocopy of it, because it's all well and good to get the police report done, but if they keep it and don't give you anything, then you can't really prove that you've gotten a police report. So just make sure you push for a photocopy and just say it is for insurance purposes, because originally they were not going to give me a copy, and I had to say to them that I will have to claim through my insurance for this, so I need a police copy, and you should be able to get one. So that was kind of like the first step to making sure that, you know, no matter what happens, if they found it or if they didn't find it, then hopefully I was going to be able to claim for any losses that I was to incur. So yeah, after my friends had looked and they couldn't find anything, I think the police were also looking for it, they couldn't find anything. I was pretty upset that night, because I'd pretty much come to the realization when I was at the police station, and also keep this in mind too, I'm not sure if it's different for other countries may very well be different, but this particular Australian embassy in Seoul was not open on weekends, and I needed to give them a call straight away so I could organize for myself to get an emergency passport so I could travel on to Japan. So that was kind of my next worry, was trying to get my passport replaced as soon as possible, when I kind of figured that they weren't going to find it. So yeah, I did get on the phone to the Canberra consulate, I think on that particular night, because the Seoul embassy was not open. Canberra consulate notified me that it was going to be probably possible to get in on Monday, this was a Saturday night, so it was still probably about 2 days away before I could even apply for a new passport, which was devastating to me, because automatically I knew that I was going to have to cancel my flight to Japan the next day, and I was going to be stuck in Seoul probably for quite a few days, if not another week. I did ask how long it was going to take to get my emergency passport, and they said that it would be 48 hours. And just a piece of advice, because I really started to worry about this, and I was looking at the website for the Australian Embassy, and like I said, different countries might be very different, but on the Australian Embassy's website it does say for passports that you're required to get an appointment with them, and it could, I think I saw on the website that the next appointment available was for the following Monday, which was a week away. So I was thinking to myself that I couldn't apply for a new one until the following Monday. But I ended up, just because I was so worried about that, I was like, I can't spend another few weeks in Seoul. I'm going to miss out on my entire trip in Japan. And so were the people that were with me as well, because I felt like their holiday had been ruined. So I basically gave the Canberra consulate a call again, and I said to them, look, I'm not going to require appointments. I need this passport as soon as possible. And they said, look, just go in. They usually do have a bit of extra time set aside for emergency passports. So regardless of whether you have an appointment or not, just go in and see what they can do, because if I didn't, I might have waited a week or so. And in the end, we went in on Monday morning, first thing, and we didn't have an appointment. We just said that we didn't have an appointment, but it was urgent. We needed our emergency passport because my passport had been stolen or lost. And then they were able to start the processing and the application process. So they notified me it was going to be 48 hours still before I could pick it up again. So we went on the Monday, so it was going to be at least Wednesday before I would get my passport. It was quite a hard process to go through, because initially the embassy wanted me to get the police report that I had in English. So I ended up going back to the police station and trying to get the police report in English, but unfortunately none of them could provide it in English. And it was just a big mix-up. And then they ended up taking us back to the embassy and explaining to them that they couldn't provide it, and then the embassy were fine with it. So I think the important thing is to really not stress too much about this sort of thing. Like, most of the people that were able to help us really wanted to help us, so it's not like they were trying to make things harder for us. And that's just like an important thing to remember. Like, yeah, it was really, I was really impressed by how patient the police were actually with my situation, because they couldn't really speak a lot of English, and I couldn't communicate with them in Korean either. So, but they were very patient and they were very helpful. So once everything had been organized with the application process, I did need to go and get passport photos done, and I actually needed to get them done twice, because the first time they didn't do them correctly and they weren't accepted. So I just needed to get them redone. This is also something, if you've got travel insurance, you should be able to claim for. And I made sure I kept all my receipts, and especially for my passport as well, because the passport I got, the emergency passport, was about $178, I think it was. So, which was quite a bit of money, and that was pretty much straight off the bat something I could claim. So I just kept all my receipts and everything from what had happened. And then I ended up managing to pick my passport up on the Wednesday. I think it was about midday. So it was pretty much 48 hours it took, which was good. I mean, we did have to cancel quite a bit of our accommodation in Japan, and we had to get extra accommodation in Seoul, and it was just a really big mess. But in the end, it could have been a lot worse. And I think now, if I was to have this situation happen again, I'd be a lot more calm about it, because at the time, even though I was a travel agent, it's very frustrating and very it gives you a lot of anxiety of what's going to happen, and the fact that you've planned this amazing trip and now you're going to have to move all different parts of it around and replace it and cancel, and it's a mess when it happens. So I would definitely recommend not losing your passport overseas. So that's my story of how my passport was lost and what I did. So the important tips I would just let you guys know, if anything like this does happen to you, is just to go to the police first. Make sure that is the first thing you do. You have to really get that done within about 24 hours of the incident taking place, really, to get a police report. Make sure you've looked thoroughly for your passport, just to make sure it hasn't fallen out of your bag, or it hasn't been dropped, or you haven't misplaced it, because if you're able to find it, it's going to be a lot easier than having to go through the whole process of getting an emergency passport. So that's definitely something I would recommend doing, is just go to the police first and make sure you've looked thoroughly for it. Then the next thing is really to make sure you've got the police report, and then call your embassy in the country that you're in, or whoever you can call in terms of trying to get an emergency passport. and booking an appointment with them, or however your embassy works, definitely get online straight away and see what the requirements are for that, because that can definitely save you a lot of hassle if you know up front what you have to do. Also, keep your receipts for everything. Make sure you go and get your passport photos done as soon as possible, because the sooner you get them done, then the less waiting time you're gonna have to have later on. Yeah, make sure you keep your receipts for everything, and make sure you're able to claim that back later on through insurance as well. Make sure you've got travel insurance, really. That's a very important thing. We can make a whole new
video on that, why it's important to have travel insurance.
Exactly, and I'll talk about the costs incurred with actually what happened and what I was out of pocket on this trip, because if I didn't have travel insurance, I would very well be in a very bad financial situation right now. The next thing would be just considering the position that you're in. So looking at any accommodation or flights that need to be cancelled, get on top of that straight away, because sometimes if you have to cancel flights or accommodation, you may be able to get more back by a certain point, especially accommodation. So sometimes they won't incur a fee or as much of a charge if it's maybe a couple of days before you're meant to arrive. Instead of leaving it to maybe one day or the day of to cancel. So make sure you're on top of that, and make sure whatever you need to change, you do as soon as possible. I think another important part of this is to stay calm, and that's something that I probably didn't do initially. I really freaked out about it, as Dan would know. Yeah. I think because I'd never been in that situation before, and I was just in a foreign country. I had no idea what to do, really. I was just fumbling my way through it. Even though I did know what I had to do, it was just, at the time, you're just so upset and horrified that it's happened to you that you just don't think too much in a straight sort of sense. You just kind of like all over the place with what you're having to do.
So Kaylee lost her passport, and I was there as well as 2 other people. So the best thing to do when this sort of thing happens is, like Kaylee said, just don't panic, stay calm. So if they've lost their passport and you're around them, and then you start panicking about how you're gonna miss the flight on your trip, and you know, like, or blaming them, what have you done, like you've lost your passport, that's never ever going to work. It's going to make the situation worse. Kaylee would have got angry at me, Kaylee would have got frustrated, she would have got even more upset. So just stay calm, you know, just think positively, even if, you know, you kind of know the worst has happened, that it has been stolen or it has been lost for good. Just stay calm, don't get angry or overreact.
I think that was the good thing about having lost it with 3 of my friends with me. Oh, boyfriend as well. But no one got angry at me. No one got upset at the fact that I'd lost my passport. Everyone was really calm. My other friend, who I'd finally met after like 6 years of knowing her online, she's from America, obviously Jessica Kabasi, and you can probably check out her vlogs here somewhere in the description. But I mean, she was so calm about it, and she was so like, yeah, like, I don't care. I don't care if I have to spend another week in Seoul. I mean, she ended up going on to Tokyo the next day, but at the time she was not worried at all, and she made me feel very, very calm about the whole situation. I think just the next morning it really did hit me that I was going to have to do a lot in terms of reorganizing things. But I think next time, if this were to happen, I hope not, but if it did, I would be a lot more calm, and I'd hope I'd enjoy or make the most out of the situation a little bit more. Because one thing I did regret when we were in Seoul for those extra few days is I didn't really enjoy it. I was too focused on reorganizing things and getting so stressed out about it that I really didn't spend those last few days in Seoul doing what we wanted to do, or extra, you know, we had extra days. We could have been really enjoying ourselves, and I felt like that didn't happen because I was just so focused on the passport thing. But next time I will be definitely making the most out of the situation and not stressing too hard. I mean, there's so many worse things that could happen, and you know, it is a really shitty thing to happen, I'm not gonna lie, and I did feel pretty shitty about it, but in the end it was still a great trip, and we got everything sorted, you know. And the main thing is travel insurance. Like, you know, just make sure you've got it, and then that definitely takes a lot of the stress off yourself. So another quick tip I've got for you, if you guys have booked through a travel agent, which I highly recommend. I mean, I am a travel agent, I'm meant to say that, but I mean, it is a really good thing when stuff like this happens, that you know someone's kind of got your back. I think it's really important to get in contact with your travel agent if you have booked through one and get the process started with rebooking things, because if you haven't done a lot of it yourself and you've done it through a travel agent, they can help you out. So give them a call straight away and just tell them your situation and what's happened. They might even be able to get your insurance claim started for you on your behalf, depending on who you've booked through. So it's definitely worth looking into that as well. If you do need any more information, and this is mainly for Australians because it's an Australian website, but Smart Traveller does have a lot of information in terms of embassies and things like that. So definitely get on the website if you're in trouble or if you need help. But yeah, this is kind of just my story on my passport. If you guys have any questions about it, definitely feel free to put it in the comment section below and we can answer anything that you have to ask. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and we will see you next time. Bye!